Welcome to TEDx My Blue Planet. My name is Durant. I will be your moderator for the first two sessions of the event tonight. Our event is pretty much about sharing the science that we know to now, but also the solutions and ideas that are out there. So we can inform, we can inspire action. So without further ado, I'd welcome Professor Shara to unmute himself and start the presentation, and for the presentation to begin. Thank you.
Yes, welcome everybody. Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here. Climate change is an urgent matter, and it's good to see that these kind of events are being organized in a community setting. In the future, we already experienced some of the dramatic events of this type. You might recall the summer 2018, and some of you might recall the summer 2003. They had a devastating effect on the economy and agriculture of Europe. These changes affect our economy. They actually have implications on river runoff and floods. They change the seasonality of our streams, and they also affect our economy. You see here on the top right, actually, a postal card from a ski resort that doesn't exist anymore. It was too low-lying and went bankruptcy in 1997.
So without further ado, I'd like to hand over to Professor Hari.
Great. What is gray water? Gray water is the very lightly contaminated water in the household. So this is the water from the dishwater, water from the sink, water from the washing machine or the shower, the bathroom tap. It is not the water from the toilet. That water is heavily contaminated and really needs to be treated separately.
Thank you very much, Professor Hari. We've got some questions from the participants. Thank you. Please do keep on sending them. I hope we have time to answer all of them when there could be a water scarcity.
So, it's not that there is no water scarcity all in Switzerland ever anywhere. Professor Scherer alluded to some of the conditions in 2018 and earlier, I think 2003, where there was substantial impact on agriculture because they're not set up to do irrigation. And so if there's not enough rain, then the crops die.
I think we're coming towards the end of our session. Welcome back to the TEDx My Blue Planet Countdown event. This is now the second session. Just to get back, there's one question for all of us, all the panelists, which is by asking about the need when we are talking about the transformation about societal debate, whether it is requisite or it's necessary to have a liberal democracy. David, would you like to kick that off?
It's a very political question. I'm not sure I'm the most qualified, but I can say what comes off the top of my mind. I mean, if the objective is strong policies, for a debate, yes, you need democracy. Probably in some cases when we need to act fast, the democratic debate is not the fastest way. The question gives example or asks, what about collective action in China and India? We've seen radical changes come from very authoritarian regimes. And I would not be surprised to see China and not the US driving the pace in fighting climate change in the future. So for a debate, for discussing about the values, the worldview we want to see, yes, you need a democratic debate. Driving a policy change, I don't think it's a necessary condition.
Perhaps, Danny, you could start with that. Do you think the Swiss political system is adequate or effective to take climate action?
The system is too slow, definitely. And it's difficult when the Appenzell was always block the movement forward. It's definitely too slow. I don't hear for the politician side, actually, I don't have a solution. What we have to do, we have to vote for the right guys in order to move quickly forward. This we have to do.
How can we go about transforming the education of our children or the education system in Switzerland to better prepare our youth, our children for the future? Sasha, would you like to start that off, and perhaps Danny can
Yes. And hi, Caroline. Thanks for asking this good question. I don't think we can reform or transform the school system in the current setting. I don't think that will work because it's a very conservative context. It's both a good and bad side of Switzerland. Things are very slow to change. So we don't make stupid decisions quickly, but we don't make good decisions quickly either. Unless we have some kind of societal consensus where we want to go, changing the school curriculum is going to be particularly difficult. So it's probably something we need to do at a small scale and try to build it up.
We're coming to the end.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this third session. We are pleased to discuss with you this evening the government actions, climate plans, with a focus on the Canton de Vaud, especially, and the youth action with two groups, Swiss Youth for Climate and Climate Strategy. So we will now begin the discussion with two questions for you, all the speakers.
People, how can society help also the government take those strong measures, etc. I think, and as movement, we think we have to break free from this idea that there exists such thing as the people, society. There is no such thing. There are many, many people which have different ideas, different ideologies. There are social groups that have shared interests, and society is a big battlefield of ideas, of position, and of interests that are constantly fighting. The government should do, it is go with strong and bold measures. These measures will create a shock, they will create a polarization, but at least they will create something that advances. So take a big step. Maybe it backlashes, but if it backlashes, at least you created conflict and you created a transformation in mindset. And if it doesn't backlash, then you have reached a big step.
Thank you, Gary. Which political instruments are the most effective to reach the net zero objective?
Si on parle d'outils institutionnels traditionnels, l'initiative reste un outil qui est fort, qui peut permettre de faire bouger les lignes. Il y en a très peu qui sont acceptés, mais disons, ça permet peut-être de créer aussi ce que Gary évoquait tout à l'heure, c'est l'idée de créer du choc aussi en termes de débat, d'amener des sujets sur la place publique avec des lignes fortes. On le voit avec le débat en ce moment sur les multinationales responsables. Moi, je partage l'idée de dire qu'il faut décloisonner aussi le débat politique dans le sens d'offrir plus de plateformes de discussion citoyenne en dehors des outils institutionnels. S'agissant du canton de Vaud, dans le cadre de l'élaboration de la deuxième génération de plans de mesure, on veut vraiment renforcer ce dialogue avec la société civile.
Thank you, Yvan. Do you think that the actual Swiss political system can actually respond to the climate urgency?
Of course, no, it can't. I mean, we have been seeing this in the past. So what we need is actually having a more bottom-up and more civil society inclusive approach. I mean, Gary, you mentioned it before as well. We need to include these people with all their different interests. And the current parliament, of course, we have a direct democracy. Of course, there are tools, Eva, you mentioned it as well. But for this, we don't have the time. But also, it's very important. I mean, the government has scientific advisory boards and that they are taken into consideration much more frequent.
Thank you very much, Marie-Claire. And I think we're getting to the end of the session.
Back to what used to be home, passing by those little towns I know so well, stopping for gas and then I'm behind the wheel again.